Well, good morning and welcome to Zen Fits. I'm back. I used to give these talks some time ago, but then because I was doing the Martini Time talks at 5, I thought it was a little too much, so I stopped. But I missed my whiteboard, and I missed being able to flesh out an idea using my marker. So I'm back in the morning, and I hope you can pick me up again. And the title for today's talk is The God Box. And I got that idea at breakfast this morning because my wife has this idea to make little boxes called a God Box. I don't know if she's going to buy them or make some. She likes to make boxes. But the little title says, when your head starts to worry and your mind just can't rest, put your prayers down on paper and let God do the rest. So the idea here is that if you are worried and have a fixation on some problem and you can't solve it, put it in a box and let it go. And you don't need a box, but this is a metaphor. It's a metaphor, and I'm going to talk about that. But a good example of putting it in a God box was when my mother lost her car keys. She was still driving at 100, and she was really heavy. I'm going to have a stroke, she said, if I can't find the keys, because she knew they were in the house. So the next time I saw her, she was fine, and I said, what happened? She said, well, I just gave it to God. I said, I quit. And right after, and immediately I just found my body walking into the bedroom, and my body put its hand in the sweater, and there were the keys. And my mind had no idea what I was doing. So there you go. Her body wisdom took over. Now you could say, if you want to put it in the context of God, God took over. Or your body wisdom took over. It doesn't make any difference. The action was her body knew where the keys were. But she had a mechanism. She had a God box. See? So what I'm going to talk about here today is why we need a God box, or what I'll call a working metaphor. Now, I've just been reading, I'm going back through my old library and reading my old books. I've been reading The Turning Point by Fritjof Capra, which was written in 1983, and the pages are all kind of yellow. And so I've been reading it again, and basically it is about the changing paradigm that we're going through now, the ending of the Newtonian universe that began after the end of the Middle Ages, and now we're at the end of that, and there's a creation of a new paradigm, and we're kind of like in transition. So that's why everything is so very confusing. But the point is that this was called the Cartesian split. Now, René Descartes was the philosopher who formulated the modern world of science and the empirical method of being the means to discover truth. So truth is matter. You have to be able to measure it. If you can't measure it and reproduce it, it's just mind. Opinion, theory, fantasy. You have to be able to measure it quantitatively, you see. That makes it real. So the Cartesian split divided the mind from matter and mind, and kind of like made it just things are real, just matter is real. And mind really has no power over it. So you have, even the other night, on what TV? I was watching Hitler's Circle of Evil, and Goring was fascinated with the esoteric, and he was trying to make a chair move with his mind, or the Big Bang Theory. Shelton tries to make something move with his mind. In other words, trying to make mind control matter. And science says, forget about it. Mind can't control matter. Okay, so the idea here is that our world has been split, that I've been split, you've been split into mind and matter, which goes back to my mother. Her mind couldn't find the keys. So she gave it up, and her body, which is matter, found the keys. Now what? You see, the Cartesian split says that matter is not intelligent. It's just stuff, atoms, stuff, things bumping around. The universe is bumper cars, things bumping around by chance, creating things, you see. There's no intelligence in matter. There's no intelligence in the cosmos, you see, from this viewpoint. So it kind of like creates us in the lost in space type of thing. That's the latest thing on now. Lost in space. We're all lost in space, you see. So, what is the God box? Now, all of my talks, I talk about metaphor, and everybody says, stop talking about metaphor. Nobody understands it. Why I talk about metaphor? Well, this is a metaphor. Now, what this does is it's a working metaphor in the same way that a movie is a working metaphor. Now, art is metaphor. Now, when you go to a movie, you don't appreciate the movie, you don't get anything from it unless you surrender disbelief. In other words, you pretend that the movie's real. In the background of your mind, you know it's not real. You enter into the movie, you become the characters, you feel like you're going to die, or you're going to get fear of death. Oh no, oh, you're going to die, and all that. You feel that. But in the background, you know that you're not going to die. So you can, otherwise, if you can't do that, you're just sitting there looking at your watch, waiting for this thing to get over. So you don't really enter into the movie. Same with a child. You give him a teddy bear. The child loves the teddy bear, but he knows it's not a real bear. So this is a God box. Now, there's two ways of working with a working metaphor. You can say, oh, that's a cute idea. And you give it to somebody, and they say, and you have a little thing to read there, oh, a God box. Oh, that's a cute idea. It's intellectually, it's cute. It's new. And you put it on the shelf, and that's it. But it's not a working metaphor. It's something, it's a temporary curiosity, and after a while, puts on the back of your shelf, and the next thing you know, when you're cleaning house, you throw it out. Or you give it to somebody else. Or it just gets, you know what I mean. Our shelves are full of curiosities that are temporarily amusing. But those are not working metaphors. So a working metaphor is where we have to be, in other words, we have to be able to heal the Cartesian wound. Let me put this up here. The Cartesian wound. Now, the Cartesian wound is like a surgical separation of my mind and my body and my mind. And my little ego lives up in my mind. And it really doesn't have much idea what my body's doing. If I don't know what my body's doing, you call that hypocrisy. In other words, if you're doing something hateful to somebody while your mind thinks you're doing something good, you're a hypocrite. Your action is doing one thing, your action is saying one thing, and your mind is telling you it's good. That's like the parent who beats the child and says, I'm doing this for your own good. But the child is saying, it doesn't feel like it's for my good. My body says it's not love. My body says it's not good. Your mind's saying it's good, but your body's hitting me. That's a split, you see. So to heal that, we have to individually heal the Cartesian wound and get our body and mind working together as one. So that's why we love movies and what I call a working metaphor. And this is an example. Now, for this to be a working, when I first got into yoga, and I forgot to put a watch up here, so I don't know how long I'm talking. When I first got into yoga, I was involved in the Hindu mythology and religion of Krishna, Rama, Hanuman, Ganesh, and all of these Indian gods and everything. But they were all metaphors. But you really believed it, but yet there was a background. If you were looking at Ganesh, the elephant god, and putting flowers there and doing chants to Ganesh, you really believed this was God, but the back of your mind said this is not a real elephant. The statue is not a real God. But yet you treated it like a child treats its teddy bear. So the heart was able to get involved with the God, but there was a little background awareness that if I put my worry in here, I'm really giving it up to God. But at the background, I know, well, this box isn't God. Yet it is God. So we get into this ambiguity of God / not God. Okay? So the box, if you put your worry in the box in God box, it really is giving it to God. But at the same time, the box is not God. But it is God. So there is a ambiguity here, that science cannot tolerate. So this here runs by logic. Now logic would say, that's a box, that's a thing. It's not God. So it's just fantasy. You just play with it. It's a toy. So that is not a working metaphor. Because the working metaphor is the same as when you go to a movie and you feel the movie is real, but your background awareness says that these are not real people, these are characters. And if I'm feeling the emotions of the character in the movie, those are real emotions, but at the same time I know that I'm not going to die, you see. So that evokes catharsis, which is what Aristotle was talking about with theater. So the metaphor, when like the God box, is believed in, like movies are believed in, it gives you catharsis. It gives you a release of the mind's Ouroboros. When the mind, when it's separated from the ground of matter, gets into a whirlpool of worry. So I need to be able to make contact with my own body, with my matter, with my body, in order to restore wholeness and integrity to my body and mind. When the mind is separated from the body, it gets off, it's like a balloon lifting off from the ground, and it gets into worry loops. So I need to ground myself back in the body. So the metaphor then becomes a vehicle or a bridge for me to ground myself and release and intervene and release the worry. The worry. So worry is a tape loop, a whirlpool, and I need to find a working metaphor that will restore unity and integrity and wholeness and ease and joy, you see. So this is just a simple little God box. You don't need a God box. If you have a worry, write it down on the paper. Have a fire. Agni, this is God. This fire is God itself. This fire is a funeral pyre. And I put my mind into it and burn it up. And I really do that. So that becomes a way of my mother finding the car keys. That is a great example. I use that all the time because when she gave it up to God box in her mind, her body knew where the keys were. So her body wisdom knew where the keys were. So matter is intelligence. Our body does have an intelligence. But the Cartesian split has made us believe that it doesn't. It's just a machine. If your body hurts, if you're sick, go take a pill. Your mind won't do anything. Your lifestyle has no effect. Your intention has no effect. Let the doctor give you a pill because it's a machine. He can fix the part. And that medical look is a result of this fundamental Cartesian separation from the body and mind, and the mind is not real. Thanks for dropping in. I don't know how long I talked. I hope this thing is on.